The hall was silent. Not the tense silence of anticipation, but the solemn kind that lingers before something sacred breaks. At the heart of the tribunal chamber, Daniel Correa stood motionless. He hadn't slept, hadn't eaten. He simply waited, alone, and yet under the weight of an entire species. The moderator's voice came like the toll of a bell. Judgment is ready. One by one, the delegates began casting their votes. Not with buttons, not with hands, but through light. Beams of energy rising from each seat into the central prism of the accord. Gold for guilty, blue for redemption. For minutes, the hall shimmered in both colors, intertwining like a war between stars. There was no commentary, no speeches, just votes, old grudges and new doubts flickering into history. Correa didn't look at the lights. He watched his hands, scarred, worn, human. Finally, the prism dimmed. The moderator spoke. The majority votes against immediate sanction. However, unconditional exoneration is denied. A murmur swept through the room. Humanity would not be punished, but it would not be trusted. The moderator continued. A conditional status is imposed. Humanity is granted provisional galactic membership under Observation Protocol Delta 7, 100 cycles of monitored integration, cultural, diplomatic, ethical, then re-evaluation. Correa blinked. That wasn't exile, it was a chance, not approval, but belief in possibility. Then came the part no one expected. Furthermore, the moderator added, the Accord recognizes Daniel Correa's testimony as precedent. He looked up. Your address will be archived permanently. Its designation, Sentience in Progress, Entry 1. For the first time, the hall didn't feel like a courtroom. It felt like a beginning. Epilogue: Correa returned to Earth 3 weeks later. He was not greeted with parades or medals, no thunderous applause, just a quiet landing at a mid-orbital dock, and a soft voice calling, "Grandpa!" His granddaughter ran up the ramp and hugged him. He knelt down, tears in his eyes. She held something out, a crumpled sheet of paper, a drawing, him standing before strange shapes, a big speech bubble over his head with just one word. Why? He laughed, and it cracked something open inside him. Did I win? She asked. He paused. No, he said, but I think we were heard. They stepped into the starlit corridor of the station, hand in hand. Behind them, Earth hung like a promise. In front of them, a galaxy waiting to decide what humanity could be. We were judged, not for what we were, but for what we might become. And in that moment, it wasn't justice or mercy that saved us. It was the truth, that even among our failures, there are sparks worth protecting. And maybe, just maybe, that's what makes us human. Some things survive war, stories, scars, and the people you thought you destroyed. The shuttle hummed like a heartbeat in the dark. Commander Leonard River sat alone in the pilot's seat, hyperspace streaking around him like silent rain. The data chip Elias Wren had given him lay in his lap, glowing faintly. Inside it, coordinates outside charted space. A single transmission from a race thought extinct. The Tarn, the enemy, the ones he destroyed. River hadn't spoken their name aloud in decades, not since Operation Harmony, the mission that ended their war in one blow. No negotiations, no peace talks, just a perfect tactical strike. Clean. Complete. He remembered the silence after, no celebration. Just cold air and a single thought. Did we just kill something older than ourselves? The ship's AI broke the silence. Approaching jump point. Destination: uncharted system. Designation: Xeno D13. Anomalous biosignatures detected. No human colonies nearby. River stared through the glass. He should have turned around. But something deep inside, something older than his training, whispered, "Go." The world came into view slowly. A quiet green and gold moon orbiting a gas giant. No cities, no ships, but life unmistakably alive. The AI pinged. Incoming transmission. Language, unmapped dialect. Emotional resonance detected. Tone, welcoming. Welcoming? River narrowed his eyes. The message played. A low, layered voice. Musical, almost. Alien syllables sang through the cabin. Then, a pause. And in perfect, quiet English. "We know your name, Leonard River. You are not forgotten." The landing was soft, deliberate. He stepped out onto foreign soil. Older, heavier than when he last wore a command suit. He expected armed guards, revenge, judgment. Instead, they greeted him with silence. 4 Tarn emerged from the tree line. They were tall, flowing forms of glistening obsidian and emerald light. Eyes like mirrors, no weapons, no armor, only a sense of deep, ancient calm. The eldest one spoke. He arrives as the river returns to the sea. River froze. "You speak my language?" "No," the Tarn replied. "You remember ours." They didn't accuse him, didn't threaten or blame. They invited him to sit, under a canopy of alien stars. The conversation wasn't about the war. Not yet. They spoke of memory, of culture, of what was not destroyed. And then the question came. "Why did you spare the last moon?" River didn't answer at first. He had spared it, yes, deliberately. One moon, defenseless, irrelevant, unstrategic. His orders were to burn everything. But he had hesitated. A single, quiet moment when instinct fought against logic. "Because I was tired," he said. "Because I wanted at least one place left, where no one would remember my name." The Tarn elder studied him. "We remembered. We have waited, not for revenge, but for the man who once chose silence over conquest." That night River couldn't sleep. He walked among alien trees and listened to the wind, and for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. The next morning, they brought him a relic. A metal fragment from a human warship, melted, scorched, embedded with names. His name, the crew he lost, the ones who never came home. "You left more than scars, Commander," the elder said. "You left ghosts, and we carry them too." The sun rose, and for the first time in 40 years, Leonard River felt something he hadn't felt since before the war. Not guilt, not regret, but a beginning. You can bury the past beneath metals, silence, and time, but it always digs its way out. For 3 days, Leonard River walked among the Tarn. No guards, no ceremonies, just quiet conversations under violet trees and skies that turned gold at dusk. The Tarn had changed. Their language was more refined now, evolved with the echoes of grief. They built with living stone, sang to their machines, and spoke of memory like it was a living being. River thought he had come for closure, but the truth was slowly becoming harder to carry. They showed him the archives, holograms projected in pools of water, images of the Tarn before the war, not warriors, but artists, philosophers, healers. He watched a child, not human, but unmistakably joyful, sculpt a humming globe of light from the air. That child had died during his orbital strike. He remembered the coordinates. He remembered the name of the moon. He remembered the sound the crew made when he gave the command. "This is what victory looked like," he whispered, a child turning to ash before she could grow old. The Tarn said nothing. They didn't need to. On the 4th day, it arrived. A human ship, small, sleek, dark, no markings, no flags. River felt the chill in his spine before it even landed. The Tarn stood silently at the edge of their forest. They already knew what it meant. "They followed me," River said bitterly. "Of course they did." The ramp hissed open, and out stepped Commander Melis Crane, Earth Fleet Intelligence. Younger, colder, everything River used to be. "Commander River," she said, smiling like steel, "imagine our surprise finding you in an alien sanctuary. We thought you were dead." "I tried," he replied. Crane wasted no time. "You've made contact with a surviving enemy species, without authorization. You're speaking with them. Alone. That's a breach of the Peacekeeping Act, the Memory Order, and about 12 classified treaties." River said nothing. "We're here to bring you home, Commander, and to clean up. Whatever this is." Her gaze scanned the Tarn like they were just data points. She didn't see living beings, only liabilities. River stepped between her and the Elder. "They're not a threat. They never were." "They cost us 12 billion lives," Crane snapped. "And you ended that war, River. You're a hero. Don't ruin it now by going soft." The Tarn didn't speak, but River did. "Do you know what we destroyed, Crane? We didn't just end a war. We silenced the only race that didn't fire first. I've seen their children's graves. I gave the order that made them." Crane's expression didn't change. "You made history. You held the line. But the people back home, they don't want this version of you. They want the myth, the silent warrior, the unbroken man." She leaned in, voice low. "If you tell the truth, you unravel every thread we've spun for 40 years. The statues fall, the books get burned, you become the villain of your own victory." River looked past her, at the Tarn children playing near the crystal springs, at the old ones who still remembered the sound of warships in the sky, at the seedling forest they'd grown in the ashes of a broken moon. He had a choice: go home and let the silence win, or stay and finally speak. Crane's voice cut through his thoughts. "You have 24 hours. Then we extract you. If you're not off-world, you're officially a rogue asset." She turned and walked away, her boots crunching the soil. River stood alone as the sun set behind the ridge, casting long shadows over the village. The Elder stepped beside him. "You must choose, Leonard River. What kind of human returns from silence? The one they remember? Or the one who remembers what he became?" And as the night grew cold, River whispered the first honest words he had said in decades. "I don't want to be a hero anymore." Some wars never end. They just go quiet, waiting for someone brave enough to say the truth out loud. Dawn came slowly, gold light slipping through the branches of a forest planted over bones. Leonard River didn't sleep that night. He sat on a ledge overlooking the Tarn Valley, hands clasped, heart tight. The silence around him was heavy. Not empty, but expectant. He had been many things in his life: a soldier, a tactician, a killer. Now, he faced a question that couldn't be answered with orders or algorithms. What would a man do? Not a commander? At midday, the Tarn gathered beneath the central arch, a vast structure grown from living crystal, pulsing with memory. It was a cathedral of sorts, not for worship, but remembrance. They invited River to speak, no speeches, no judgment, just one voice from the man who ended their world. He stood before them, a human, old and heavy with memory. "I was taught that peace comes after victory, but I've learned peace only comes after truth." He told them everything. No filters, no military-approved phrases. He spoke of Earth's fear, of the war that consumed his youth, of the command he gave that shattered their world. He didn't ask for forgiveness. He didn't deserve it. He just told them what had never been spoken aloud. In the distance, the sky cracked open, a ripple of light, a shimmer of metal. Earth's fleet had arrived. 8 ships, quiet, unannounced, orbiting above without a single broadcast. They weren't here to talk. They were here to erase the past. Commander Crane's voice cut through the village intercoms. "This is your final call, Leonard. Return to the landing site immediately. Failure to comply will be interpreted as hostile collaboration with a foreign entity." He looked up. For the first time, he understood how it felt to be under a human warship's gaze. This was how the Tarn had seen him. He walked slowly to the landing site. Crane waited with 2 armored guards. She didn't look angry. She looked tired, but her voice was sharp. "You gave them everything, didn't you?" "I told them the truth," River said. "Someone had to." She stepped closer. "You think that makes you noble? You've just handed our enemies a martyr's tale. Do you know how fragile peace is back home? This story burns everything to the ground." River shook his head. "There was no peace, only denial. And if our civilization can't survive the truth, it doesn't deserve to survive." Crane stared at him, and for a moment her face cracked, just slightly. "You taught me once that emotion has no place on the battlefield." "That was before I learned what war does to the soul," he replied. Suddenly, an alert sounded on Crane's wrist pad. Fleet Command had issued new orders. "Infiltration confirmed. Civilian contamination. Protocol A14 authorized." Crane's face turned pale. "They're going to erase it. The whole moon. Burn it clean. They'll say the species was unstable. The contact corrupted. They'll cover the whole thing like they did before." River felt his heart twist. Not again. Not twice. He turned toward the forest, toward the Tarn who had already suffered once. "We have to stop them," he said. "If I go back, they'll kill them in secret. If I stay, they'll kill them openly." Crane looked at him, caught in the fracture between duty and humanity. "They'll paint you as a traitor. Strip your name from the fleet. You'll die on a moon no one will admit exists." River gave her a long, quiet look. "Then let them. Better to die for the truth than live as a lie." He turned and walked away, back toward the valley. Behind him, Crane didn't move, but she also didn't call her guards. She just stood there, watching the only man she'd ever respected walk into the storm. Above them, the fleet's weapons began to warm. The final act was coming, and this time, he wouldn't give the order. You can kill a body, you can silence a voice, but a truth spoken aloud, that's a war no empire ever wins. The sky above the valley turned red, not from sunset, but from the glow of plasma weapon systems charging in low orbit. 8 Earth Fleet warships, silent and watching, waiting for the final go order. No declaration, no broadcast. This wasn't war. It was erasure. The Tauren had gathered beneath their memory tree, not to flee, not to fight, to witness. And Leonard River stood with them, not in armor, not as a commander, but as a man who had once pressed the button, and this time chose to stand beneath it. "They will kill us," said the elder Tauren. "They fear what cannot be controlled." "No," River replied quietly. "They fear what can't be forgotten." He turned to the crowd, alien eyes watching, trusting. No species should have had reason to trust a man like him. He activated his field transmitter, a technology old and outlawed, capable of broadcasting wideband across every fleet channel, open and unsecured. He had one chance. His voice came through every officer's headset, across all 8 ships, across encrypted logs, across Earth Command's own silent satellites. This is Commander Leonard River, ID 024 Delta Vega, Mission Lead, Operation Harmony, confirmed survivor, and I am here to tell you, the war never had to happen. A pause, the kind that presses against every lung. I authorized strikes that wiped out a civilization, not because they attacked, but because we were afraid, because our leadership chose silence over understanding. Behind him, the memory tree bloomed, projecting images into the sky. Children, healers, singers, Tarn lives before the fire. River kept speaking. They survived. They remembered. And now I remember too. If you fire, you don't erase evidence. You immortalize guilt. You turn a lie into a martyrdom the whole galaxy will see. On the command deck of the lead cruiser, Admiral Van listened in silence. She had served with River once. She remembered the war, the cost, the orders. But this? This was a dying man bearing his soul to the stars. And suddenly, the numbers didn't feel clean anymore. A junior officer turned to her. "Ma'am, we're live across public net. Half the outer colonies are pinging the signal. If we fire now, we'll be remembered as the ones who silenced our own." Her finger hovered over the confirmation code, shaking. And then she did the one thing no admiral was ever trained to do. She closed the screen. "Stand down. Disarm weapons. Mark the system as protected." The room didn't cheer. It just exhaled. Back on the moon, River slumped. The signal died. His hands trembled. His knees gave out. And suddenly he was caught, gently, by the elder Tarn. "You did not save us, human," the elder whispered. "You chose to remember us, and that is the greater act." 1 week later, the broadcast had gone viral across human space. Official statements denied it, of course. They always do. But something had shifted. A movement. A ripple. Young officers requesting more than weapons training. Asking to study first contact ethics. Civilians building monuments not to victory, but to memory. And somewhere deep in a quiet archive, a new name was etched on a memorial wall. Leonard River, soldier, survivor, not a hero, a witness. He died not long after, under that same tree, watching Tarn children draw maps of the stars. They gave him no statue, only a seed, planted in the soil where fire once fell, and where memory, finally, was allowed to grow.